Honorable Niko Nawaikula, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me say at the outset that I oppose the budget, along with my colleagues on this side of the House. But, Honorable Speaker, allow me to start by quoting from the speech previously made by the Leader of the Opposition, because I feel that expresses in a very neat way the status of this budget. He stated that, firstly, what is very clear in our mind is that the revised budget presented by the Minister of Economy last night is sugar-coated to deceive, and I emphasize that, to deceive the people of Fiji. It is an election gimmick to buy votes, give false promises, and hoodwink the people of this nation, unquote. Then, later on, he said this: this budget, 2021-22 adjustment, is a desperate measure to remain in power by the Fiji First government. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is not an adjustment. It is an entirely new budget. This raises many serious questions about the authenticity and sincerity of our budget-making conventions. And further down, he says, indeed, this is not genuine. It is another hoodwinking exercise. This is a crude joke on our country. Honorable Speaker, that to me says, and I am sincere, and I wish to say this at the outset, that the government has lied to the nation of the need for this mini budget, or what they are now calling a revised budget. The reason for my saying that it lied is because, the Financial Management Act that authorizes this kind of budget says it must only be done, Section 12, in fact, says it must only be done when you have what is called an economic shock occurs, and the effect of the economic shock cannot be accommodated through the annual budget process. Only when that happens do we need a special budget or revised budget. And that's the reason why I'm saying that the government lied to us. Because last night we were waiting for the reason. We were waiting for the government to explain to us what the shock was. And we were anticipating that it might be, as expected, we do not have enough funds out there to carry us through to the end of the financial year. But alas, that was not the case. So they were lying. In fact, if you look at what the Honorable Minister for Economy was saying, he said, we are having this revised budget because we have managed to have a quick turnaround. We have surplus collection there in the revenue. We have also managed in this very short time to have a lot of savings. And there again, Honorable Speaker, he lies again. And the lie is this. If you look at page 21, page 22 of the supplement, and here it says, the reasons. The favorable fiscal performance relative to the budget for the first 6 months was largely due to a 207 million over-collection in government revenue and tighter control of public revenue. I have said that. Then it goes down. The over-collection in government revenue was largely attributed to 185.9 million in non-tax cash inflows from off-budget support grants received from Australia and New Zealand. So the lie is that we did not collect this by ourselves. We did not earn it by ourselves, but was the result of aid and donation from Australia and New Zealand for direct budget support. And further down, The line in relation to the savings in expenditure, we debated last year. So many ministries after ministries after ministries did not spend their budget allocation. So these were held back. And we were told yesterday that this was the saving. This resulted in the quick turnaround, and therefore we have the so-called revised budget. And what was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was to give out election goodies for this election. So my concern there is that, the government has lied to the people of Fiji of the need for this. And we ask ourselves, they ask us, quoting the Honorable Minister, said, "We will be a fool if we do not agree to the zero-rated VAT. We would be a fool if we do not agree to the return of the overtime." But our answer to that was that zero-rated VAT was the motion from this side of the House. All the time and all the time and all the time. They did not become only poor now at the eve of the election. They were poor 10 years ago. And Honorable Biman Prasad said, when you claim that unprecedented growth, that is the right time for that. So why now? Then, in relation to the return of the overtime, this was always there. And our message to the voters out there is that, take this. But we are not supporting this budget because we will remove all this and we'll give to you much, much more than that. We'll give to you security of employment. 6 months contract, 3 months contract is not security of employment. So those are the reasons why we are not supporting this budget. Then, Honorable Speaker, let me just go back to some of the comments that came from the other side. Honorable Koya said the purpose of this budget is to bolster the economy. Bolster the economy in what sense? Now, if you look at the allocation, when he says bolster the economy, my mind goes to, it means that there will be injections on primary industries. But no, if you look at agriculture, if you look at the Ministry of Fisheries, if you look at Ministry of Forestry, agriculture even has a negative, it's down. So we cannot say that we are bolstering the economy. So don't say bolstering. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, we can say from this side that the economy is already boosted. They probably have their first and second dose of boosters. If you look at the amount of finance that we have allocated or we have approved last year to this government to run its government business. In grants and direct budget, we approved $838 million. Aid in kind, over $10 million. Total of this, and the total of all that was $1.8 billion. So what other boost do you want? We already enough money there to take us to the end of the financial year. So there was no need for this. It was also not authorized by our laws. And the Honorable Leader for the Opposition told us, in 2 years, we had 4 budgets. We are just doing budgets anyhow, whenever they want to. That's not how you manage. That is a reflection of how bad you are managing the economy. Honorable Usmati, Honorable Speaker, stated that when we are opposing this, we are saying no to zero VAT and to the allowances. That is not the point. The point is that we will take it away. We will take it away and give you much, much more than you deserve. And the other point that he said was that they had 9 years of unprecedented economic growth. Absolute lie. And that lie must be put to rest now. Because, Honorable Speaker, I have the figures here. The figures here will show that if you look at 10-yearly performances, 1971 to 1980, and we all know that was the time of Ratumara, growth was 4.85%. Then, between 1981 to 1990, and that was the time of Rabuka, 2.46. 1991 to 2000, again, Rabuka, 2.44. Then 2001 to 2010, 1.36. The unprecedented growth that they often refer to was for the period 2011 to 2019, 3.24%. Radumara's time, 4.85. Your time, 3.24. So stop the lying. I'm here to ask them, stop the lying. Don't lie to us, don't lie to the public. Then, what is unprecedented is that only 1 year after that, there was negative growth. There was never ever a negative growth in this country except the time that they were here in 2019. And that was even before COVID. And we all remember what happened. They projected 4 billion collection to be collected in revenue, and they only achieved 3 billion. And as a result, during the budget year of that time, we were cutting off. Cut, capital, projects, and operational costs. So what's unprecedented here is that during that time, growth was negative. The other point that you said was that they have decisive leadership. But you look around, Honorable Speaker. Look at the roads. What is the state of the roads? That is the outcome. We only look at the outcome. Look at the state of the hospitals in Fiji. What do you see? You know, Honorable Speaker, the hospitals even lack basic hygiene. Go to Nandi, on the front side, and you see some old bed just piled up there. Go to Nosori, Honorable Speaker, and you see, old equipment and all just packed outside. Go to Levuka, Honorable Speaker, and you see basic hygiene. That is unprecedented, Honorable Speaker. That is what we look to. The other point that he said about the budget is that we must look at it in context. Well, the context that we are looking at the budget, from my point of view at least, is through the FMA, or the Financial Management Act. And I'm telling the Honourable Minister is that that act does not authorize a budget like this. So his government is lying to us, lying to the public, that we need this so-called revised budget, because the laws do not authorize that. The law only said we only need it when there is an economic shock, not as a tool to fight an election, which they are doing. The Honourable Speaker, Honourable Wangadambete, was almost crying inside of the House, sympathizing for himself from the comment made by Honourable Salote about him opening the toilets. But let me tell it's not here. The joke came from his own ministry. But the point we want to emphasize is that instead of opening those toilets, which was not given by government anyway, which was the result of aid and donation, which would have been delegated to his staff or the commissions in Honolulu, he should be in his office doing policy, especially in relation to NCD or diabetes, which at the time he was distributing those toilets, was being announced in New Zealand that Fiji has the highest death rate of diabetes. That's where he should be. That is the point that we wish to make. The Honourable Speaker, if I might just add, with the comment from Honourable Bala, he made a comment in relation to the law that we are about to pass. There's a law that's been sneaked into this, which is called an act to provide for the development of informal settlement. This allows the lessee, just by a notice, if the lessee has a development lease, to give notice to the occupier to vacate. And if he does not vacate, then he will be penalized. Honorable Speaker, as a lawyer, I'm engaged in so many cases for eviction. Summary process, we do that under S169, and that's Order 113. But what is fundamental is that the right to a home is a fundamental right. Whether it is in a title or whether elsewhere. And for that, the court is always very, very careful before it gives an order to evict a person. And he will always have that right. In 169 proceedings, the tenant will produce his title. But then, the burden shifts to the person who's sitting there to prove to the court that he has a right. Now, this law also ignores, customary tenure. Customary tenure is when an individual, native or otherwise, takes a tabua in accordance with custom, and he's sitting there. And this law is saying, irrespective of all that, just by giving a notice, he will be evicted. It's very, very poor. It's inhuman. And it only tells me that this law has not been properly consulted. I'll just give you an example, Honorable Speaker. In Culture Road, there's about 200 poor people who are currently being taken to court. And these people did not just go there anyhow. They went to the landowners. They took drums of kerosene. They took tabuas. And now this law is allowing the government, never mind that it's limited to government, allows them just to be given by a notice, and they'll be out. So very sad. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I do not support the budget.